Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of CEO and Market Expert Interviews. I'm your host, Lucian. Some of you know me as Triangle Investor from X. Today, I'm joined by James Sykes, Baselode Energy CEO. James, great to have you back in my show. Welcome.
Hey, thank you very much, Lucian.
Thanks. James, we have a lot of things to cover as you are active on multiple projects, but let's start with Ackio. You are at full swing with drilling at Ackio. Can you give me a breakdown of the work done so far? What have you intersected so far? And are there any new zones or any other pleasant surprises at Ackio?
Well, we've released what we have so far. And the first area that we started drilling, which was following up on Pod 6 of Ackio, we did hit some exciting mineralization. One of the holes came back with a top 10 radioactive intercept overall. So we know that there is some pretty good mineralization still hiding within the Ackio system itself. We then segued over to doing a little bit more reconnaissance exploration around Ackio, looking for additional mineralization on strike with Ackio in areas that we haven't fully tested, that we've seen have anomalous geochemistry, have alteration, and some of the recent geophysics, such as gravity and ANT, suggest that there's a continuation of the structure and mineralization in this on-strike area. So that's a target that we're currently drilling, along with drilling underneath Ackio. So Ackio is a system that kind of runs like this, but the fault system is like a V shape. And we've never really tested that fault. So now we've come in to do some deeper holes to intersect that fault, plus mineralization potential at depth. And then we're also testing a sandstone unconformity idea, because we do have a sandstone there. And we know that with a lot of Athabasca deposits, when you've got unconformity mineralization, you can get some ultra high grades. And we have a few areas that we've earmarked for potential unconformity mineralization, but also, again, testing this part of that V structure, which we've never tested with diamond drilling before. So we're doing a little bit more concerted effort and trying to see what the structure is doing on this side of the sandstone target. So those are all currently underway, and then we'll be segueing over to continue mineralization, delineating mineralization on strike within Ackio, such as Pod 7, which is our furthest pod to the west, where we're following up mineralization. Hole 102 hit about 8 meters at 1%, and we've kind of left it open. And so we'll be following that to the northwest, right up to the project boundary.
Okay.
So that's basically the big highlights and big pushes for Ackio. And we've got regional exploration on the go as well, which we're very happy to continue popping around and drilling some new target areas.
Okay, you have some drill hole samples out. When can we expect results from them?
Lab's been kind of slow for the turnaround, but I would expect maybe 8 to 10 weeks.
8 to 10 weeks. Okay. What are you doing differently this time compared with the previous drill campaigns, if any, of course?
We're doing a lot more exploration. Since we discovered Ackio in 2021, we really haven't done much in the way of exploration, especially on the Hook project. We've drilled one area for sulfides, which was a completely non-uranium target back in 2022. We drilled another gravity target with one drill hole back in 2023, but everything else has really been into Ackio. So we figured that the Hook project is prospective for mineralization, for additional mineralization. And with the funding that we recently completed in October of last year and January this year, we figured that and with the momentum behind the uranium space, we figured this was the time to really put our foots forward, push it hard, and let's do some additional exploration. Let's make a new discovery. And in our second drill hole on this year's project, we hit what I would consider to be a highly encouraging radioactive zone, which has all the right earmarks for growing into something larger. With 30 meters of well-elevated radioactivity, continuous, so it's not spotty or anything like that. And that's the type of intersection that can lead to lead to significant mineralization. So we've only got one drill into that. We decided to pop over into some other target areas to complete our exploration targeting for this year, in case one of these other targets do yield an immediate success of higher grade materials. Then we'd have then we'd have to make a choice. Do we drill 2 new areas and leave Ackio alone?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple things that we're trying to complete, but this new area of radioactivity we will be going back to before the end of the drill season.
Got it.
It needs to be followed up, simple as that.
Yeah. How much was drilled so far? How much is left? And when do you actually plan to finish this drilling season?
We plan to finish by September, no later than September 30th. There's a possibility that it could go over, but I don't think so. We've currently completed about 4,000 meters, 4,000, 5,000 meters of our campaign. We're expecting anywhere between 12,000 to 16,000.
Okay, some numbers. Okay. James, how much, or better to say, which work do you have to do on Ackio to for bring it to a resource category? And actually, when can we expect that? Can you give me some timeline?
Yeah, we're pretty well done the work that we need to do to complete the resource. Again, so the drilling that we started off with this year was part of that work, was to bring everything into an indicated category. We didn't want to come out with an inferred resource on Ackio right off the bat. We wanted to get that extra level of comfort with an indicated resource. So we have put more of an effort into diamond drilling the area before coming out with an initial resource. But everything looks good. Everything is on track, and we should be able to, well, pending assays, of course, we should be able to get a resource out by the end of this year. The drilling that we're also doing on the northwest strike extension of Ackio, that depending on the results that we see there, could also be included in a resource as well. So we have to, we'll be cognizant of what will be included and what we have to do to bring it all into an indicated category. But for the most part, I believe that we are there. And the goal is for the end of the year, come out with a resource. If we're still waiting on assays, then we just push it back to Q1 of 2025.
Got it. So, James, long story short, is this drillings which you did so far, is this meeting your expectations?
Yeah, it's everything that had to be done. We couldn't sit there and not drill any of the targets that we had to do. But especially with the exploration side of things, I think that's definitely meeting our expectations. Second hole of the season, making a new discovery, and we haven't even hit some of our more encouraging targets that we've wanted to drill this year. So very excited to see things going. The drilling's been going well. It's been quick. It's been fast. We've had no issues. Our whole operation seems to be running very smoothly. We've made a number of modifications especially with the camp setup, that we're no longer using a camp rental as we were the previous season. So we bought our own camp and moved it in, and we believe that that's going to reduce our costs. So that's a big win, and that's a big bonus for us as well, trying to reduce our per meter cost. So yeah, there's been a lot of things that have been going very well. We're very content to continue doing what we're doing.
You mentioned per meter costs. What are your numbers over here at Ackio? How much is an average price per meter?
Yeah, about $550 per meter. And that's all in cost. That's people, assays, helicopter drilling,
and helicopter is in this price.
Yes, helicopter's in this price. And the helicopter usually takes up about a third of the cost. Drilling's a third of the cost, and everything else is the other third.
Okay, that sounds reasonable for Athabasca.
Yeah,
definitely.
Helicopters always increase cost to any project, but given where we are, it's something that we have to do. And again, that's something that we're very happy with the way we've operated. Sure. It's allowed us to get into every area that we've wanted to, and our footprint is extremely small.
Yeah,
that you really can't tell that we've been in there. We've chopped down a few trees, leave everything else on the ground. It looks very nice.
Okay. You have done the exploration work on your Bear uranium project as well. Can you give us an update on that program and the next steps for it?
I might as well follow up with both Bear and Catharsis, just because they were,
Sure. Yeah.
they're done and over with for the year. So they were both drilled in sequence. Catharsis beginning of the year, and then followed by Bear. Catharsis was absolutely phenomenal. I'm very happy with the results that we've seen there. We've identified a 5 kilometer long trend of, I'm not going to say trend of mineralization, but a trend of alteration fluids that have carried uranium.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the right fluid system, because when you're in Athabasca and you're exploring for unconformity style mineralization, you look for your oxidized fluid system, which is hematite, so it's red colored. And if that has uranium with it, well, then you've got a system that's carrying uranium. You just have to look for the right trap thereafter. And that's what we're seeing at Catharsis in areas D and G, which form that 5 kilometer V-shaped trend. Everywhere that we sampled within this hematite system has come back with over average uranium values, up to 60 ppm, which is close to 0.01, well above 20 ppm. So it's there. We're seeing elevated uranium within the right fluid system. Now we just have to locate where this fluid system would have where this fluid system would have come together and brought all of the fluids in. So we know that the structure is there, you know, the fluids are there. Now it's just a matter of finding the right location. And as for Bear, Bear was very similar. Actually, Bear is very similar to a lot of what we're seeing at Hook with the new target area that we discovered. We saw a lot of alteration at Bear. We're also seeing the same fluid movements, but we weren't really seeing uranium with those fluids. However, if you look at some of the gamma probe data, we can actually see that there's less radioactivity within the alteration, which suggests that uranium has been removed from the area and transported elsewhere. That's the same thing we're seeing at Hook, where we made the new discovery. Whenever we see that alteration is extremely low radioactivity, and then we have mineralization right at the bottom of it. Yeah. So with Bear, we drilled one area in particular. We put most of our effort into one area in particular because it was, again, very encouraging with alteration right off the bat. But we haven't drilled the east side of it yet. We leveraged historic gravity data and other geophysical data, so we didn't have to put a big foot forward. It was drill ready. But now with the results that we have, we will complete additional geophysical surveying to the east of where we drilled, which again is about 5 kilometers. And we think that somewhere in that area is the proper location for mineralized fluids to come together. And basing that on what we're seeing at Hook and at Ackio, that we get these large alteration corridors, hundreds of meters wide, of just fluids that have come through here and altered everything. Nothing is left. Everything is just completely altered. It's crazy. It's beautiful. But it's over on the west side. This might be east. I don't know if the cameras are going to be. But on the west side of these alteration chimneys, that's where we're seeing mineralization. So for Bear, we've only drilled the east side. We need to go and drill the west side of this alteration corridor. We think there will be some good results coming out of that.
Yeah.
One of the things with Catharsis is, because it's such a large project, we needed to spend money on it to keep it in good standing. So we've done that, and we can actually walk away for a couple of years and not have to go back to it. And we can put all of our attention on Bear. But similarly with Bear is such a small claim that we've put enough funds on it from drilling this year that we're going to keep that in good standing for a very long time. Theoretically, we don't have to go back to Bear. If we're seeing better results elsewhere, such as at Catharsis, such as at Hook, then we can divert our funds and attention to these other more prospective areas, and then save Bear for later on in our careers.
Okay, so reading between the lines, Ackio will remain your prior number one focus, and with this other two, you will decide in the process what to do next, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, what about
As
shadow?
it stands right now, I know this is early because again, we're not done drilling Hook, we're not done drilling Ackio, but as it stands, we have already earmarked some funding to go back and drill the DG area for Catharsis.
Okay.
It was that compelling for us that we feel we haven't done it justice to just walk away and not touch it again. There's a lot of good reasons to go back there.
Okay, I understand. James, what about your shadow project? Any works there planned?
No, nothing's planned for Shadow. We will leave that on the shelf and again, slowly let that sort itself out.
Okay. James, are you still pursuing the Athabasca 2.0 exploration thesis, or your approach has been changed a bit?
No, we still stay strong to our 2.0 thesis. If we do change it, we would be looking for shallower sandstone plays, but we're not big on exploring deep sandstone cover. We do see the potential. We see some success out of some companies, notably Canalaska, with some amazing results. It's not us. We believe that we can find something more lucrative near surface, and we will continue to do so.
Have you considered to expand the land position, I mean, around Ackio maybe? Is that an option for you?
It's not an option, unfortunately. We are completely surrounded. If we did expand, we would have to go into a JV with another company. And again, that's something that we don't really want to do at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So what we are looking for are prospective areas that do come available to stake open ground as they lapse. Some companies just can't put money on them, and they allow those grounds to lapse. So we look for opportunities that way to stake additional ground.
Yeah, actually, I look at the map this like 3 or 4 months ago, and I saw quite a number of lapses, the uranium land. How do you
Yeah.
comment that?
Again, some people just can't raise the funds to explore the projects properly. And they can't put the required assessment credits onto the ground. Maybe some companies just don't prioritize the land, that they take land grabs, because right now land's a big asset in the
Yeah.
Athabasca. It's a huge asset. So if you can acquire land, it's a great thing. But again, if you can't do any work or have no intention to do work on it, then eventually after 2 years, then it lapses.
Yeah, yeah. I want to touch on the share performance as well. Your stock is now at the mid 2020s level. Why is that? Do you believe that you did something wrong and the market didn't reward you, or is it something else? What's your take here?
Well, I've been told of one thing after we did the raise in January of this year, that I know there was a few groups who were not happy with us doing a raise, back to back with the one in October of last year, and they found that very upsetting, saying that we were cashed up and then pulling this raise off. In hindsight, I'm very happy that we did so. Even for hindsight, I was happy with the deal when it came across our desk, which is why we took it. It provided us funding for overflow funding for this year if we needed it, but also for funding for next year, because we never know what the market's going to do in general. Last few years in the marketplace has been pretty ridiculous, and we've seen we've seen a lot of red. So that was one thing back in January, but we have continued to slide, and I honestly think that it's obviously the investors selling, but it's the quality of investors. A lot of our last raises have all been flow-through investments with no hard dollar components or very little hard dollar components. We know the hard dollar component people are still there. We still have investors back from the original days in 2020, 2021, which since 2021, since the discovery and onwards, we've done a lot of flow-through. And you can see the volumes that really do match, especially after the 4-month hold is up. You can see some paper being traded en masse. So we do believe that most of it is just flow-through traders just selling for tax loss reasons, for the capital gains. Canada's flow-through regime has in some provinces, you get 60% tax write-off on critical metals, which again, that incentivizes investors to sell at a loss and still make money, which does no good for the company. So we've identified that. Yes, it's taken a little bit longer than we expected, but we wanted to make sure that we kind of pegged what was going on. But that is what we do believe is going on. Is with the amount that we raised and the number of shares we put out in the last 2 raises, it's obvious that people are not sticking around even to see the drill programs complete. So that there's no intention. I've had people call me up in these flow throughs asking if we're an oil and gas company. So I don't even know what they're investing in. Okay. So our focus is to shift that. We're going to be looking for people who understand uranium, who want to get exposed to uranium, who believe in not only what we have, but what we can continue to do. So with this new discovery, I'm, fingers across this turned into something a lot more lucrative, that we can really jump on this, or even a new discovery that we can get an investor stronghold back into the company and really back us and support us, instead of having people who stick around for 4 months and a day. Yeah. When mentioning raise and cash, what is your current cash position, and are you fully covered for 2024? In your recent, I believe, filing was end of March 31st. It was like 20 million, your position. What is the current cash position for Baselode? So the last filing was actually our Q2. Q2, yeah. Which just came out at the end of June. We've got significant cash in the bank. As far as exploration goes, numbers off the top of my head, it's actually been a few weeks now. I do believe we had 9 million flow through to continue exploring for the rest of this year. We're cashed up with about 4 million in the bank. Okay. In hard dollars, we're well funded. We had a $12 million flow through commitment to this year, and that we will see through. We're going to be very strict about that and just stop right at that 12 million mark, so we don't dip into 2025 flow through, so we can keep that in the books for next year. Again, with Catharsis looking the way it does and book exploration, we can already see some priority targets to throw that funding into. Yeah, understand. What about marketing? How are you approaching marketing? Do you have a budget there? We don't really have a budget, but we're not being ridiculous about it. We've actually been very lax. Marketing hasn't even eclipsed 6 figures yet this year. So we have been slow. We've been trying to do more one-on-ones, which will be starting back up in September. It's hard to get people's attention during these summer months, but with drill results on the horizon in September, we think that'd be a good time. But we'll put more of an effort forward in reaching new investors. We have done a lot of marketing in the past, and we found that really it wasn't working for us. Again, whether it was the overall market or whatever, but we'd put out news, we'd see it pushed out on a number of different channels, and we would trade down. So the ROI and the marketing that we've done previously really didn't help us out. So we've decided to not pursue the same thing. Let's be a little bit more cash conservative and find out what works and what doesn't. Yeah. James, what is your take on the general uranium market, and how do you see the remainder of 2024 playing out? I mean, for the uranium equities. The uranium space, I just recently read somewhere that somebody called an $80 floor, which I can see as being quite real. Historically in the uranium space, it was September and October when the utilities would come back to the market and start making some purchases. So I'm still holding out for that is what we will see happen. And I think it's got nowhere to go but up still. Definitely. Final words, message for current shareholders and potential new ones. What's your message for them? We continue to drill and we continue to be successful. I think with what we've discovered throughout this year on all of our projects warrant additional drilling, which could lead to more success. In the immediate term, we've got Ackio that we will continue to drill and hope for more good news coming out of there with more discoveries. But we're also looking for new discoveries on the Hook project. We've already just discovered one. We're looking for more. If we can find more, I think that we will position ourselves as a reputable company who can find uranium mineralization. And that goes a long way. I believe that would go a long way with investors. So as we're cashed up to do so, we are drilling away. We're currently drilling. We'll be drilling to September. And I think we've got a lot of positive results to come with the changes that we're trying to make with investors. I think we can turn this vehicle around and make it more stable and get it to grow again.
Okay, that was James Sykes, Baselode Energy CEO. James, thank you for coming to my show. I wish you luck with all your projects, and let's catch up sometime soon again when you will have some fresh news. Thank you, James.
Thank you, Lucian.